Welcome to the Tech Panel.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The podcast where tech minds meet.
Oh, hey, before we get started today, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell.
Welcome to the Tech Panel. I'm your host, Arvin.
And I'm Sarah Bowers, and today we're excited to welcome Anushka Bandara. He is CEO and co-founder of Elegant Media, one of Australia's leading app development companies. Since its inception in 2010, Elegant Media has grown into a global player, working with major clients like McDonald's, Beyond Blue, and also the Australian government.
Anushka is an entrepreneur who's been at the forefront of tech innovation for over a decade. He's deeply involved in business development, marketing, and recruitment. So let's chat all things business and app development. This is the Tech Panel. Anushka, welcome to the show. How you going, mate?
Yeah, very good, Arvin. So thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us today. We're very excited to have you on board. So firstly, tell us a little bit about Elegant Media and I guess your background and then how you started it.
Yeah, sure. Elegant Media is a tech company and really heavily focus on mobile app development. So since if I go in for more chronological order, so we started back in 2010. Myself and my high school friend Shane Pereira. So he's the co-founder of the company. So we started to develop website for tradies, electricians, and plumbers. We send a mail out campaign and asking, find out who doesn't have a website, just started a developing website. We just put a little bit of cash, what we have in our credit cards to start with in my shared accommodation. So after that, so I think we developed one website and in that approach. So then early 2011, when we have got seen this trend towards mobile apps, so we quickly jump into that and started to develop our first mobile app. I haven't had an iPhone back in those days, neither my colleague Shane. So we had an iPod and we tested apps on that. So after that, rest is history. So then we have become the largest app developer in Australia. So after 10 years.
So you're the largest app builder in Australia, is that what you said? App development company?
That's right.
Yeah, that's fabulous. And you've worked with some pretty big clients, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. In terms of number of apps and the number of clients we have dealt with, yes.
Yeah. So you've done who are some of the bigger clients and then sort of how many apps have you developed, today?
Yeah, so there's three areas we are working on. So the governments, businesses, and the startups. So the startup category is says our bread and butter, and we develop 1,000+ apps into App Store and Google Play Store. Anyone who has an idea, who was thinking about developing business around the mobile, and so then they come to us, we brainstorm, we find the right path to approach, and then develop the app and help them to market the app as well. And the other category is business category. So whereas the business using mobile apps to enhance their business operations, improve the productivity, improve marketing. So then we develop apps for the businesses. And the government, so especially the federal government. So we have worked with local governments, state governments, as well as the federal government. Back in those days, about 10 years ago, we have developed our first project with the Bunbury City Council in Western Australia. So then after that, we have worked with the South Australian government. And so we have worked with the Australian Taxation Office, under the Department of Defense, Air Force, Army, and currently we are still working with Army, and we are working with the agriculture research arm called Hort Innovation. So, and also some institute control under the state government, so Melbourne market. So we work with those organizations as well.
That's huge. That's quite a diverse, mix of businesses or startups. That's incredible. I guess I probably used one of your apps before without even knowing that
I
you've
know.
created it, I would say. Um, how
Yeah.
did you, I guess, grow the business from just doing, the smaller apps to then getting some of these bigger clients on board? How did you scale up?
Yeah, uh, when we started our first mobile app called What Wine, so that the customer selling wine into Chinese market, and the customer, she was like really like she just want to take the risk, and because understand like we are like two kids out of uni and doesn't have experience, and she doesn't want to risk her investment. So we said that's fine, don't pay us anything, so let's build the product. So if you're happy with it, so we can charge you and we can move forward. That's how we started.
Yeah, wow.
So after that, because you got to start from somewhere, and we haven't had a portfolio, so then we have that what wine as our single portfolio. We shown that to the next client. This is what we did. So they had some confidence. So then we started our second project called the plumbing uh, fabrication app. So the plumbing industry. So after that, so when we have the portfolio, when we have the experience, we get to know how to talk to clients, how to win the business, how to build the product, how to test it, how to launch the successful product into the market, and how to build the good connection. So then um, we start getting like a more inquiries, and so same time we advertise too. And so then we at like a first 2 years of our journey, so we develop app for the startups only. So then later on, like once we have got better portfolio, and once we have got all the accreditation, like we have got the ISO 9001, we got the ISO 27000 for the security and the quality, ISO 9001. So then we started winning tenders, especially for the
The
governments.
government. So you need that
Yeah.
accreditation first before you can do any government tender, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's a part of their requirement.
Yeah.
So you might get like here and there some smaller project, but to have like some serious work, yeah, you should have the accreditation.
So it sounds like it was quite a naturally, like an organic sort of growth. You learnt from, building the first one or two and then how that worked. And then you just kept growing and growing. And as you got more clients on board, you just continue to learn and grow, I guess, and then bring on more more people, more developers, more, how many staff do you have at the moment, I guess?
At the moment, like the company wide, we got about 100 plus staff
Mhm.
in a given time. So from like different teams, we got the project consulting team, we got project management team, we got a marketing team, we got all the designers, all the iOS app developer, Android developer, PHP developers, and testers, like a very diverse background, like a 60% of them are software engineers, like who's the coders.
Sorry, how many employees again? One more time.
We got about 100 employees here,
100
100 employees
employees.
in the company. Yeah,
What percentage
all
of them are
throughout. Like
developers?
developers, we got like some here as well. We got some overseas as well. So the pretty much like we run as a global company. It's
Right.
not like like you coming out of that outsource concept to a global company. You might some clients project might work with a designer based here in Melbourne office, and some project based in the designers who is based in our Colombo office in Sri Lanka.
So to make sure I understand this a little bit, you've got 100 employees, but it sounded like you alluded to that a lot of your developers are probably not employees, but consultants, external consultants.
No, all are employees, so we don't use any external consultants. So all
Okay.
working under the company.
I guess what I was trying to get at there is if someone's listening and hearing about a company that builds lots of tools. If you've got 100 employees, what's the average makeup of your workforce? Is it like 50% developers, 60% developers? Like what can someone expect from a company of your size?
Yeah, 60% developers.
Okay.
So the 60% software engineers.
Significant portion of it. Okay.
Yeah.
How has that transitioned? Obviously, you've developed a lot of tools across, like, it looks like it was around 10 years now.
Hmm.
How do you balance being a company that probably started in a space where you could rapidly develop solutions and now you're building tools for some of the biggest companies in all of Australia? Do you find you've lost any of your agile capabilities trying to work with these larger, more enterprise level businesses?
Look, Evan, so it is um, mainly like we work with like new technology, so the
Mhm.
cutting edge technology. So even our customers doesn't, that's the first time experience for them as well.
Yep.
So they leave us to decide how to do things. So they trust our expertise.
Mhm.
So we don't have to like even we work for the client, it's client investment. We don't really need to work with their processes and system. So they leave it for us and for us to decide the way we wanted to move forward with the project.
Mhm.
Like some of these larger clients, the governments and the corporate, so they start their concepts start with the prototype. So because they want to try out new product into the market. So then we involve that consulting stage, like create a like a MVP, minimum viable product,
Yep.
and showing this is how it is working. So then later on, like it goes to like a full scale development. So pretty much we don't have that issue. So yes, uh, during the last 15 years, we had like some occasion, some heavy tech involved clients, so they wanted us to work on their system the way they wanted. But unfortunately, like we said, this is the way like we experience, and this is the way like a trusted way because we have developed our processes based on our experience and based on our mistakes. So then it is like a very minimum that something can go wrong. So yeah, fortunately, like the 99% of our clients, they trust our system.
Because you do, as you said, you kind of do it all in-house in terms of you develop the app with them, brainstorming, and then you also, advise them on how to market the app as well. So you step them through that process as well. Is that correct? If it's
That's
a
correct. Yeah,
yeah,
especially the consumers. Yeah,
yeah,
the startup
yeah.
side of.
Whereas some developers might just develop it, and then you're on your own to market it and figure it out. So you kind of you hold the hand along the way with some of those steps.
Yeah, that's right, Sarah.
Yeah.
You piqued my interest. You said something along the lines of you release some cutting edge technologies in a lot of the apps that you're using. Aside from AI, like what is happening in the app development space that's cutting edge that maybe we're not too familiar with?
Yep. Like a mobile app is only a channel, like it can be like a website. It's just only a channel. So, but there's a lot of tools, a lot of technology that can use within the app. So, if you ask me, like using from um, VR, virtual reality to augmented reality, machine learning, computer vision, and AI. So, all these technologies can be involved and has been involved
Yep.
in the mobile app. So um, those technologies, like we have used machine learning like about even 5 years ago, like before this new AI trend
Yeah.
comes up into the market. So we developed an app for brake pad company called Bandix. So that's machine learning involved there. And so currently like we working with the Australian Army with the project whereas the AI involvement there. So that's project is about 2 years long now. And also hot innovation again, that's AI involvement. Uh, uh, so the machine learning and artificial intelligence.
I was just curious to know whether, I guess the trend is people still want apps developed as such, or do they want, do they call it software now? Or with AI integration, is it still called an app? Have you seen that trend
Hmm.
change?
Yeah, I mean, about 10 years ago, it's only app developer, like you just simply develop a simple app, but it's not there anymore. It's not like people download the app, like they pay for certain features. That market is not that, it has passed the peak. So now it's all about like app is a channel to develop a business. So you can develop a new business around the app. And so there is like a lot of features within the apps, like an example, Uber, like they based on the app. Uber is an app, but rather you say Uber is an app, Uber is a business. So it's a $1 billion business. Social media, like everything is on apps. So it's an app, but we don't say Facebook is an app business. So it is a tech business. So pretty much like using an app as a channel, you build a business around it. So that's now like you can't. It's not like a It's not like a developing a simple app with like a few features. Like like even the Apple has like a strict condition to approve some sort of apps. So you have to have a certain functionality to get an app approved. Like example, dating apps. So it's more likely to get rejected by App Store if you like develop simple dating apps.
You have to have like it's a full business model developed around this application or I guess almost software sometimes if it's within a
Yeah,
company.
yeah. Plus, you can be like any unique features, like not like going with the common features. If it is common, yeah, full business, and if it is unique feature, that's all right too.
Yeah. Is it always on mobile or do you develop apps for, um, laptops and in terms of some of the business ones you're working on in-house, is it always a mobile app or trying to understand that?
It's mobile based,
Yeah.
and also like the backend, like admin can access to the database and the information um, through a web link. So then, of course, like we have developed the backend, like 95% of the apps nowadays like has a backend. So whereas the admin can log in and see the data, see the information, see the trends and things like that. So there's a two component, like a backend for the app, and then you might have the front end, which is called iOS app and Android app. And same time, you might have a promotional website, so where you have all the information about what you can do with your app, what you can do with your website. There's a market inside of it. So it's kind of like a more systematic approach, like
An
putting things
ecosystem
together.
of an app. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's got a lot of different branches in it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you're using now Elegant AI as an additional solution that you offer to your customers. How's that reshaping the way that you develop tools within the market?
Yeah, Elegant AI is like because as a tech company, we are heavily focused on cutting edge technology. So the AI is a big thing. It's a next big thing. I think it's a once lifetime opportunity. I think like pretty much all three of us missed the dot-com bubble, and this is like like sometimes people say like this kind of like invention of wheel or invention of fire. Like it could be like that big because you give the control to machine, so AI. So Elegant AI is a consulting arm of Elegant Media for AI technologies. Like our primary focus is consulting businesses in different industries. It could be defense, agriculture, logistic, hospitality, retail, consulting them how to improve their business operation with using AI. And also like our primary focus is developing AI agents for the certain task and within the industry. So that's why like we have a different arm called Elegant AI. So that's primarily focusing on AI and associate technologies.
So you'd almost be like a business consultant going in and looking at how to implement AI within their business and different
Not
units
only consulting, so we
and
wanted to
building it.
develop the tools as well.
Yeah.
So because we don't like categorize our company as a consulting firm, so it's all about like we do actual work. So we
You
find the
consult and
gaps,
build.
issues.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And can you give us any examples of I guess some of the projects that highlight this sort of AI transformation?
Yeah, so one project is in agriculture farming in northern Queensland. So there's a bugs in avocado. So and the farmers has to manually identify what are the trees is a bug presents there, and so rather they're doing that. So with the AI tool, you have a camera fix on your vehicle, and so then you drive the vehicle around the avocado field. So then the camera will detect so is the bugs present or not. So after you have finished your drive, so which will give you a report, so how things are. So that's a one example. It's image recognition, and the machine AI will understand. They will identify using the image, and then they will generate the report.
Yeah. Much
And
quicker than the human eye could do it. Yeah, of course.
that's right, Jay. And also, like, the more you use it, it's better. The machine will become so better results and more accuracy. It will learn.
Yeah.
And another project in we call the project called AI Marksmanship app. So in shooting competitions, so rather you identify who is the best shooter, you have your phone or camera available which identify your target, and at the end of the day it will give you like who's the best shooter and give you the scores as well. So you don't need to use a human to just count it, like how many shoots you have done, how many targets you have done. So that's another project I can talk about.
Very varied.
Yeah.
Very diverse sort of range of clients you've got there, and the use cases for AI.
I do
Yeah.
wonder, have you ever used any military applications?
So this is more training purposes, not like in the combat field. So we haven't done anything yet, but there's like huge potential there as well, and we got the capabilities as well. So we are in the Department of Defense panel as well, where we can develop softwares for the military applications. So and also like they have like a good defense prime company, those companies, Boeing, Lockheed Martins, or sometimes like the software development projects go through them. Yes, as like all the we are maintaining high security level with the ISO 27000 accreditation. Yes, we can work with those any project that's applies in the combat field.
I'm always fascinated by, I guess, if you're working in such diverse areas and you're at the forefront of cutting edge technology, what do you think the upcoming trends are? I guess, like, whether it's in AI, app development, beyond, what do you think businesses should be preparing for right now?
I think AI agents will reshape the way we work,
Mhm.
the way we think, and the way we behave. And so business efficiency can be improved much better ways with AI agents. So that will be changing the shape of the industries in next, I should say, 5 years time, rather 10 years. And so the AI agent should be applied to like all the industries. So um, generally like some technologies like even the dot-com bubble, so that's also start with the industry. So same thing, AI agents will start with the industries, start with the corporate and the businesses, so then coming down to the consumers. So and if you run a business nowadays, you should like adapt quickly to use AI. Your employees, your team should start to use AI agents, AI tools, otherwise they will fall behind. And so AI agent can do multiple tasks at the given time. Like an example, like if I wanted to have a meeting with you, I can have a meeting with only one person at a given time or one team. So like right now I'm talking to you two, and same time I can't talk to my marketing manager, same time I can't talk to my project consultant. So if I have a trained AI agent, so one of my, maybe I'll talk to you in person and my agents will talk to my colleagues. So I can have multiple agents. So because over time, agent will learn from me, agent will train by data, and so they will become better and better in over time. So you can, it will be like a more multitasking.
Mm.
So the human can be multitasking because humans are not designed to be multitask. So human can be multitask, and that's potential is enormous. Like an example with social media, you are more close with your influencers or your celebrities, but some influencers, some celebrities, they got millions of followers, but they can't have a personalized conversation with their followers. With AI agents, so they can design AI agent to have a personalized conversation with their followers. So that even come to like a next level. With the traditional media, you had like a big gap with your people you like to follow. With social media, you are following their day-to-day activities. With AI agent, you can have a very close relationship and a private conversation with the person that you follow.
And that's an interesting concept in terms of influencers having that, because they will have so much data to learn from. If people are posting and putting their life on their social accounts, they will learn quite quickly, I would say, that person's
Yeah.
personality.
Yep.
And then be
Mm.
able to converse that way. I love that idea of being able to multitask and having, say, your AI agent talking to your marketing team. Oh, hey, what do we think of this? Where's this document? Blah, blah, blah. They can be doing that in the background while you're having a face-to-face meeting or what have you.
Yeah.
I definitely see the value in getting rid of those menial tasks. But yeah, it's I'm always curious to know, where you see it in terms of business and app development and whatnot. So
Mm.
yeah, interesting concept there. Have you created any apps yourself? Like in terms of, I know you create for other businesses, but have you developed your own that you've marketed and that have done well?
Mm. It's a good question and interesting question, because like like it can be a conflict of interest, because we signed the NDA, and when we have done thousands of apps, so we have covered pretty much like most of the concepts.
Mm.
And so we can't like build our own apps, so because like it's confidentiality and the trust, and it could be a conflict of interest, so we rather like not to do that. So for the startup point of view, like hit the target, hit the goal. So they are gold miners. So we are the candle makers. We create the candle for them to find their gold. So that's the area we like to stay, and that's the area, unfortunately, like we have got like a lot of concepts, and we got the products like that. Products can use for like a different customers and the customization, but we don't like really market like any apps
Make your own and
that's
market.
developed by our own. Yeah.
Yeah, I do understand that would be a conflict of interest, but you would be in such a good position to know what works well and what doesn't, and all that knowledge. Do you, what, in terms of your forecasts, what
Mhm.
are some of the apps or the AI tools that are really popular that do well, and you think there'll be a need for more of that, or it will do well, in the next year or so?
Hmm. Yeah, the most of the app where you can get the task done, like an example, um, yes, we talk a lot about AI, so yeah, that's like a 80% of things are with AI now, so the new technologies.
And that's what
And
people want, do they? Do they want, like, I want an app that will do this for me because it uses AI, makes it easier? Is that what the customers are wanting?
that's right, yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
okay.
trend. So because rather like you have some apps at past, so you can watch things there, you can get to know information, you can get to know people. Rather you get to know things now, like you need tools that get things done, like with AI. Like a classic example, you put some prompts and you put some instruction, says just create me a video, or create me an image, or create me an essay, or something or other. So where any tasks to be done, so that is trending now. So there's some time at past, social media apps been trending, dating apps been trending, price apps been trending. Now like
Games and
those,
things like that. Games were like a super trending app for a while. Everyone was really onto Candy Crush and all
Yeah.
these sorts
yeah.
of things. And now I'm like, does anyone play game apps anymore? I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pokemon Go, and so those
Yeah.
trends was there, like
Yeah.
with augmented reality. So now like it's all about like okay,
Help.
enough of like just wasting time, like get things done now.
Yeah.
So just like do something where people can get real value and can get like some work out of the project,
The
out of the
age of
app.
efficiency
Yeah.
at the moment. And
Yeah.
so, I guess something. But my thoughts are, there's already things like that, like ChatGPT covers most of that. So why would someone create an app that does something similar Is it just doing it better
Yeah,
or different or streamlined?
ChatGPT is a large language model. They cover like I feel like it's still like a more like informational based. Like they will tell like what to do.
Yeah.
So and how to do things. And so when you have like a with involvement with IoT, Internet of Things, so like when you come to home, you like turning on your air conditioning, turning on your lights, and that sort of like a getting things done
Yeah.
approach
Yeah.
is like the trending, so there's like a lot of things like we manually has to do, like even like your car, you got like a lot of functions, but you don't use 80% of the things.
Sure.
But it could be useful if it is turn on automatically, or if someone will understand, okay, now the outside the temperature is this, inside temperature is that, and you coming out of your cricket practices, and so this is the temperature you normally prefer. So then it comes to that level, like rather you
Having to
change by
click
your
into it.
own.
Yeah. Like my Tesla, I click into it
Yeah.
to do that. And I wish it would just know when it says, oh, it does say climate control's turning on if it gets to over like 40 degrees in the car. I'm like, can it just turn on when it's 20 degrees? Like, or when it's 35 degrees? I want it to be nice and cool when I get in. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So like more of that helpful knowing, intuitive sort of AI, I guess.
And there's definitely
that's
a space for more tools. Like even we use AI as an example. Like most of them are applied to so many niche cases, but no one's really doing anything on like a self-help level. Like nothing's really like they're business
I've
oriented. They're
heard
really
of
good.
things like that. Yeah.
Something that was like, hey, this is the next time you need to go to your doctor's visit, or this is when you need to reinsure your insurance. You need to renew your car policy, or have you gone and taken your car to get serviced, and all these other things. Like there's a lot of different ways you can adjust these
Yeah.
tools on the fly. There's definitely there's opportunity for
Yeah.
apps.
Yeah. I guess a good point. There is like using those large language models that are already out there
Yeah.
to build that. But I always think, oh, won't they just continue to refine that and make it better, like the big guys? But I guess, yes, every now and then an app will cut through that and have this niche market. Is it the niche market that you think will work, or is it like something that would appeal to a broad
It will
client?
appeal to broad,
Yeah, okay.
like even in consumer levels, like effectiveness is like a very key nowadays, because you need to crack down, you need to like get rid of your to-do list, like rather you decide what priorities are. So based on the situation, based on the circumstances, if someone like a machine AI tool, AI agent, so they have access to like all the data, they will decide like what are your priorities are, and what you should do now, like because uh, human like they try to like pick the tasks doesn't really important, like they start with like a easier task, like rather doing that. So if someone suggests, okay, this is what you have to do today, this is your task list for this week, like this is what you are working on,
I
that's
need that
would be
so
very
bad.
handy.
With an ADHD brain, I am always I'm always working, I'm always busy, but it's like procrastivity.
Yeah.
I'm procrastinating by doing activities like, oh, I really want to paint this thing, but I should be getting that thing that's the deadline's due soon, and I should be doing that. But I really want to do this. Overwhelming urge to do that. Not on the priority list.
We're all guilty of that, I think. So as an app developer, I've always felt that this has been a big bottleneck for companies developing solutions. Language. I've worked with quite a few companies now that release really big solutions on the market, and they always want to break into the next country, but they've always struggled with, how do I reword everything in this massive app and this library? Are you seeing an expanded opportunity for companies that already have really great apps, but never had the capacity to understand how they reword and transition the tool to be ready for go to market into a completely different country that speaks a different language? Are you seeing any expansion opportunities with customers, or is that like an untapped market, do you think?
Um, so with especially like this app business, app development, like it's huge in USA. Like most of our clients at past, so they capitalize in USA.
Yeah.
So and recently, like it's not about only USA, it's worldwide. So if you wanted to use an app as a tool, you don't really worry about is it from Australia, is it from America, or is it in from Europe, you don't really worry about that. So when you buying something, e-commerce as an example, you might looking at it's an Australian supplier, like with the app. So it's global supermarket. So
Hmm.
you wanted like a best tool is available. So rather based on the country. And um, the some big apps like Uber, like it's called Russia. And so then when Russia started, so some apps in South Asia like Gojek or Grab, so they capitalize local market. When Uber comes, there's already like a competitor there. So
Sure.
then in the world, like a different regions has got different apps. So they have Uber as a global company and plus the local presence. So I should say like it's a global supermarket, the best opportunity. Like you don't have to like worry about the only like going for local first. When you then later on you expand into global scale, you can think about globally, and you can act on global.
I guess what I was getting at there is being an app development firm where you help create these tools for people. There obviously is just a wide range of tools that already exist on the market that are fantastic tools, right?
Mhm.
And I've worked for some of these companies. I think we all have used one. Let's use Facebook. Let's forget that we're in 2025 right now and imagine it's 2010. Facebook's like, we're the greatest marketing company out there for like connecting people and communicating, but may not have the ability to understand like how do I refine all this information so it's readily available for people in China? I don't speak China. We're all American company. No one here speaks Chinese, but I also want to go into India. How do I also adjust this thing so it's readily available so it can be digested by the Indian market and every other country out there? Are you
Mm.
seeing that large language models and AI tools are unlocking that ability for them to just, or yourselves to quickly adjust these tools to make them so they can immediately be released into those other markets that were left untapped up until this
Mm.
point?
Non-English speaking
Yeah,
markets.
non-English
Yeah.
speaking markets. Like if you
Mm.
built it in the US, you want to go into India.
Mm.
Are
Mm.
you reapproaching your customers and saying, we can do this now? Like I don't
Mm.
speak it, but this tool does. Let's just readjust everything on the fly and release it in the
Mm.
market.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Evan. So, I mean, with AI, like you can localize easily.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I agree with you because there's a cultural differences. The way people think is in here is can be different to in India
Hmm.
or China. So when you have that cultural touch into your business or technology, or I should say the product, so then faster you can grow. So that is the biggest barrier for companies to go global or the apps
Yeah.
to go global, because that cultural differences are there.
Hmm.
Because local company, they touch that cultural aspect of the products. So the rather global company, but with those information available and the language models available, so the with the AI, so you can customize, like rather go for the globalization, you can localize the product based on people's interests.
Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So with AI tools, you could do it.
And as I understand, you've expanded rather recently into New Zealand markets and the Singapore market. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
Sri Lanka,
correct.
did you say? And then you're about to do Singapore, or
No, we started Singapore
oh, you
now.
started Singapore as well?
This,
Yeah, great.
yeah, this is like a perfect example. Sri Lanka and Singapore, one simplified Chinese and Sri Lankan. I don't want to assume I know whatever languages are being used there. But yeah, I imagine you're encountering the same exact growth challenges that these other companies are experiencing. Are you, as an internal company, leveraging tools like AI systems to help you bridge that barrier, that communication gap? Yeah.
Um, in Singapore, it's English, so the
Yeah,
language
I
is
know it's a
English,
bad
so they
example.
use that. So in Sri Lanka, so they use English, and but they use some local languages, English and Tamil. And when it goes to New Zealand, of course, English. And at past, like we tried out Switzerland, and we failed, and we found it's a language barrier as well as time differences.
Hmm.
So that's the biggest obstacle. And with it will be like a need like a large investment, like a still if you like break this cultural barrier, like especially in Europe. So they have got multiple languages. So how you going to localize? You need to hire a local staff and who doesn't speak English. How you can communicate? So with the technology available, you can communicate with them using tools. You speak in English, so that will convert to their own language. Then they will talk to their customers in their language. Example, Swiss. So then it's a local language, but still that cultural difference is there. If we directly talk into someone in Germany, so we can talk in English and which is convert into German. But is it enough for customers in Germany to trust us to go ahead with us? So that cultural gap is there.
Yeah.
Like with COVID-19 pandemic, it's opened up like a whole new opportunities. Like people started to trust someone they never seen just by video calls. Like I'm sure like the video interview what we have now, if we doing that before 2020, we might do that in person. And so that's the same time we started New Zealand. So we started our New Zealand businesses from our Melbourne office. So we discussing, we talking, we connect with our customers via Zoom. And same time, if they're dealing with the local companies in 2020 and 2021, they cannot meet people because the restriction and things. So which means we becoming more equal, like someone who is from Australia in Melbourne and someone who is living in Auckland and doing businesses in Auckland, they have like a similar opportunity. So now it is new normal, like we don't really like worry about you meet person in person before you sign a deal or you meet them online. Like I should say like 80% of our customers, they don't walk into our office in Melbourne. So we have customers in Queensland, Western Australia, Northern Territory. So they all connected via video calls. So same thing, that cultural barrier will be break very soon. So where people start to trust someone in land down under, in someone in Europe. So that when that cultural barrier is break, so then very easy to do the business globally. So it will break soon with AI.
What do you think is the biggest hurdle when it comes to breaking into a new market? Would you say it's the cultural barrier or the regulatory barrier? What do you focus on as a point of priority?
Yeah, cultural barrier, I should say. Like there's no such a things in regulatory barriers in technology, I feel, because like the, the 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 world is ruled by big tech companies.
Mhm.
I should say like a magnificent seven. So Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Meta, all these companies rule the world. So now imagine like a tomorrow if government has a restriction. All right, Australia, you can't use Google anymore. You can't use Meta products anymore. You can't use Microsoft anymore. The economy will be shut down and daily life will be shut down. People will protest against the government. So they that big. So because the recently I seen Microsoft, they increased their subscription price and government can't do anything.
Mhm.
So like you can say there's a triple C and regulatory bodies, or what can they do? Like remember like Facebook having this issue with the journalism, like they have to pay journalists, but what the government can do? If they don't want like Australia, they can forget about, they can focus other countries. So then people here, they need the product, they need those services from those big tech companies rather government. So I should say it's more about that cultural barrier. So that's why like Google came up with their search engine with local language and local tests, and all these platform allow to post comment in local languages, because everybody knows the biggest hurdle is the cultural aspect.
I mean, this just goes to show like my limited understanding of like what I would focus on. I feel like the big thing I'm not an app developer personally, that I would want to be working on or focusing on would be the regulatory. Like, am I going to find any legal challenges if I try to release this tool in another country? Right. But it sounds like to you, you're like, put that in a basket where it's like, that's something you just can't control. Focus more your energies on the cultural aspects of breaking into this market, which I think is, I don't know, like, how would you have focused it? If you started a business right now, what do you think you would be focused on most?
What the customer's needs are, like focused on like, making
Yeah.
that customer happy, like building something that where that customer needed it and there was a want for it. I wouldn't really be thinking about the regulations as
No?
such. No.
Oh, geez,
Well,
that just
especially
goes
in
to
the
show.
tech space, as you said, because there aren't that many, like there's not a hell of a lot of regulations. Like let's say I was doing a wine business or something like that, then I'd be a bit more like the import taxes and the,
Yeah.
but there doesn't seem to be like import export taxes on tech,
Mhm.
right? There's not that
Mm.
sort of, I guess,
Yeah.
regulation on that as a business. If I was just thinking about it off the top of my head.
Yeah. I get it. I guess I was just thinking to myself, like, geez, how many things can I get sued for? Like, there's data rules, like retention policies. How do you save
Yeah, I mean, you have
information?
that
And,
in like, that's why
you
I
know
would
what
go
I mean?
to like someone who's
Yeah.
an expert on it and build it and say, okay, build this.
Mm.
What do I have to think about? What are the governance in here? What are the terms and conditions? Could you put that in?
Yeah.
Great, done. I'd go to someone who's done it a few times before so that they'd cover that. But I just think,
Mm.
it's just the regulations and they'd teach me how to
It's
do
just
it.
regulations.
Yeah, they just abide by it.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
teach me, but I don't think there's like, as you said,
Yeah.
there's not huge restrictions on it.
Yeah, that's my ignorance. But
And it's also a crazy world of like marketing as well at the moment. There's like no restrictions on marketing.
yeah,
which
we
is
had that
crazy on social
conversation a couple
media.
months ago.
Like there's
Yeah.
no, like, traditional marketing on TV has to go through stringent
Mhm.
checks to make sure that the product you're selling is actually does what it needs to do and it's not false advertising online. It's like, it's a free for all.
Yeah.
So
How many times have either
Yeah.
any of us on this call right now bought anything off of a website like Temu, and you get it and you're like, how is it this big?
this isn't what I
This
thought
is
it was.
not what I thought it was. But focusing more on the cultural aspects, then, what kind of techniques do you employ to make sure that you resonate best with those cultures that you're trying to break into? I imagine there's people listening right now that are thinking to themselves, I've got a product. I've been thinking about breaking into a different country like New Zealand or Singapore or the US market or wherever. What do you do to prevent an experience like you had with Switzerland where it just didn't land?
Well, you've got the teams, right? Like in New Zealand that you'd be relying on, or the teams in those other countries that would know that culture. Is that how it would work in terms of the clients? Keeping the clients happy, you'd
Yeah,
rely on those teams?
yes, in New Zealand we have a team, and so when you like approach a new country, so it's better to have that global approach. Like the cultural aspect of it, like the companies or the individuals, they trust global tech companies. Because they used to use the product from global tech companies. If you go with that label, you don't have issue. We not like try to pretend that we are a New Zealand company. We were thinking like, is it the way like people are doing? So no, that's not, because we can't pretend that we are a New Zealand company. We say we are a Australian company. We are doing a business globally,
Right.
and same approach we have for Singapore as well. And the customers doesn't have any issue. And when goes to Europe, so I think the biggest obstacle was that language barrier.
Sure.
And so you should have like a team. If you have like a good team of people working there and says we are Australian companies or we are branched out here, and so I'm representing the company. So I don't think we'll have an issue. And adding the point for that regulatory point of view, the regulation can't control tech anymore. They try to control social media.
Yep.
They match social media content versus traditional journalism where you have a control, but the government failed. And when you get an invoice from Google, so you get an invoice from Dublin in Ireland. So that's regulation is there. It's registered there for the tax purposes. So last year, there was a government summit about how to control, how to regulate AI. But when it comes to this year, nobody talk about regulating AI. It's all about talking about potential of the AI. So how we can reshape the economy, how we can helpful, how we can mankind improve with AI. So it's the regulation is like it's there, but like if you remember at past, people suicide, like they try to put the blame on social media channels. But that trend's gone, like even you have the paper, you can write something maybe like 500 years ago. Do you still blame on the paper? Maybe 500 years ago, they said, someone invented paper. So that's why like someone had like a bad influence. But do you do that now? It's all about like what's your right on the paper.
Mm, yeah, like you're saying that, yeah, they can't be touched, and they're not really talking about that sort of thing. They're more looking at the positive implications of rolling out this sort of
Yeah,
tech and
that's
using tech
correct.
for good and whatnot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
interesting. You're just hung up on the laws and the
Yeah.
that's your brain is like. I do wonder if it's like an American way as well, because everyone in America, like, you can get sued, you're liable.
You're probably right
It's
about
like,
that. I wouldn't doubt
you've
it.
grown up in America, whereas
Mhm.
I grew up in Australia, and we don't really talk that much
Yeah.
about, like, we don't have that fear of being sued
True.
or suing someone. It's not that culture of it.
Yeah.
Like, I think maybe that's like you've grown up with that as well. And it's like, oh, I've got to be, protect all this and be liable. I don't want to. Yeah, I wonder if that's like
Yeah.
part of it, because you're really like, oh, I've really got to think about that. And I was like,
I
terms and
definitely think that's
conditions.
probably played a pretty big part. I suppose where I'm coming from with these questions is, I manage a global company right now, and I think culture is a big part of a challenge I'm trying to focus a lot of energy and resources in to solve for, which is as you expand and the company leaves its historical footprint being in one location to multiple cities to different countries, how do you retain a lot of that culture at that stage? Especially when you probably don't even have offices in many instances. You've just got a skeleton crew while you're trying to build the feasibility to like expand and invest more resources into that region. Like, how do you maintain that? How do you keep it?
Yeah, you should maintain your core values. Doesn't matter like how many locations you have. So
Mhm.
there's like a one thing called the company culture. So that company culture should be same or similar across the regions.
Mhm.
So based on like where you operate, so you can be localized for the customer experience. But within the company, so that culture, the company culture has to be maintained. Otherwise, one of your branch is working different to your other branch. So then one day the company will be collapsed because they don't work very well each other.
Mhm.
So, but what I said, um, uh, doesn't matter like which location you are, like when you're doing the customer service, and you have to be localized.
Yeah.
So, like an example, the large tech company, they invoice us. So it's a tax rate here, GST rate 10%. So then you have to comply with it. And so when you go to another country, they might have different percentages taxation, and it's can be like a similar, like as Sarah says, in Australia we think differently, and the America they think differently. So maybe in America, what you say as per what you said, they might more concerned about how I protect my idea, how I sue someone if they steal my idea. In Australia, it's all about like people might say, okay, how can I be the first in the market before someone else? So then the way you consult customers, you have to be account for those differences.
Sure. Eh, you said, the core values, the ethos of the company, right? Let let me tug on that a little bit. In this office where I can see people, where I can shake their hand and hear their problems and work directly with them, it's obviously significantly easier to maintain that culture, foster it, build it, prove
Mm,
upon it. But for
mm,
someone I hire in a different country who's never even seen my face, face to face, I should say, those are words on a paper. How do you truly maintain your culture outside of your immediate atmosphere, right? Like, what are some tactics that you've employed managing a global company to solve that
Mm.
that challenge? Yeah.
Of some of the things that
Mm.
Like, do you?
Yeah, focus on like where you can involve your remote employees, where the people work outside of your geographic location. There's certain things you can do, and there's something you cannot do. You can't have a physical party, or you can't meet them for your lunch.
Hmm.
And but same time, it's kind of like a long-term relationship, a long-distance relationship so you have your team member back in other side of the world, but you can have a casual conversation with them, you can uh, send them a gift if for their birthday, and you can wish them. And it's all about you can involve them for your in-house meetings, or they join via Zoom or Google Meets, whatever the video channels. So um, and plus you recognize, and you when you achieve something, rather you say our this office achieve something, you include them, you involve them, like more inclusivity,
Hmm.
and you say like we have achieved that. So I had that mistake at past, my team in Sri Lanka, they used to think about their different team. They used to say, like our Sri Lankan team, our uh, Melbourne team, and that way. And another technique we use, as I said earlier, we got some designers work from Sri Lanka. They directly work with the clients. And same time, we have got some people who exactly do the same job from our Melbourne office. They work with client as well. So it's more hybrid environment. So at past, the way we had people in Sri Lanka, they don't directly work with clients. They have no responsibility about updating clients, the project status. Everything has to go under someone from Melbourne office. They work the underground staff. So, but
So you treated
now
Melbourne as head office that it had to go through, and now you're kind of giving them more of that ownership and responsibility, which makes them feel more part of the team, more included.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. So they have the responsibility. They are accountable now because they are part of the team. Otherwise, whatever requirement we got from the customers in Melbourne office, or they transfer to there, they think it's all about like what they said. They don't know what client says. Then
Yep.
we change the system, so they involve and they feel it. So now nobody talk about okay, it's come from Melbourne or it's come from somewhere. It's all about the client first approach. So yeah, it's client's requirement. This is how it is. And because like some project managers working here, like if the project manager is sick or having leaves, our team lead based in Sri Lanka, they take the responsibility, they step up, they work with clients, they communicate with clients, they have a meeting with clients. So that's how you involve everybody
Yep.
into your common purpose.
I like that. Getting people to change the perspective from us and them to we're all just one team, shared resources across the entire, um, all the various branches. I could definitely resonate with that. And I think a lot of people think that's definitely something they could take advantage of.
I like that
Yeah.
you said you've learned from that mistake as well. Like you used to have it all go through the sort of head office, and then you realize that we need to do things differently. What are some of the other things you've learned along the way? Like what are some of the big mistakes you've made, and the biggest lessons you've learned in this business that seems to have grown quite rapidly?
Um, yeah, there is like a lot of things we learn. So I'm just thinking about what to put together. So, so when we hire people, the talent you hire, you try to get the best talent from the market. So I feel like rather best talent you should get who can be really fit into your culture, and same time it has to be like a good talent, but sometimes the best talent doesn't really work well. So you should focusing on is that person has a potential to learn, because when you hire someone outside of your company, your interpretation of the best talent is not right, because they might be good at with what they have done at past, you have to like think about if you hire this person, is he or she good at with what we are doing? So example, like we are running like an agency model. So we not working on a single products. We build multiple products. There might be a good software engineer who work with a single product for 5 years. So we have hired them at past, but we don't hire. We are very concerned about like if we hiring someone right now, because like their experience is only limited for one product. We need like someone who has experience in multiple domain. Like it's not only for one industry. We are a company who deliver result, who deliver tech solution for multiple industry. So that's like a big mistake and big learning. And when you goes to global environment, so when you expand the business in another country, don't invest everything you have there. Like first you have to test the market. You can test the market while you present your current location. If your testing is correct, then move to the next step. So rather you just assume things and do that.
I definitely like the idea of when you're hiring people, the best person from a results perspective is not always the best fit for the company. I think we've all probably worked at some stage in our careers with someone who is probably really good at results, but maybe toxic for the rest of the team. And it's a balance that you need to strike. You need, as a business, need to make that decision. What is the focus and what are your long-term strategies? And if you get one person with good results, but it burns bridges with everyone else, like
it is that balancing act, isn't it, of talent and management and results and clients. And it's no easy feat. A lot of people go, I want to be an entrepreneur and start my own business. And then you talk with people that have like come up through the challenges and all. It's always much harder than people expect. And there's so many more complexities and nuances to running a business, isn't there? We might have to wrap it up shortly, but before we go, I did want to ask a question that we ask all of our guests. Is there one piece of software or technology that you couldn't live without? In terms of, if you could even give us business-wise and then even personally.
I should say email apps. So can't live without it.
Yeah.
So you got to like communicate. And video streaming apps like YouTube, so very essential. So I think both of these, you can live without social media. You can socialize with the inner circle, so that's fine. But those communication and like entertainment is must.
I might try something a little bit unique here. Given that you are an app developer and you love the email app, is there anything in email apps that you were like, why the hell have we not built this yet as a society? Is there any functionality you feel like is just sorely lacking in your email app that's kind of holding you back?
Yeah, like what I should say, like even they have some functionality, people don't really use that, and they only use for like the email apps not become like super apps, like that some apps like WeChat in China, like they have got for different purposes, food delivery, communication, you name it, anything, it's there. So I think there's a huge potential within email apps, so to become a super app. So it hasn't been done yet, and not sure why they haven't leveraged the usefulness of it. Yeah, so that's about it in the email apps is very important, and so don't know like why society they might need like more personalized experience, like an email app. So give me like even Google introduced so their Gemini onto email apps. So
Yeah, or
not sure like
Copilot or something with
how
emails.
many people using it. Yeah.
Maybe generalizing here, but did you ever have a BlackBerry?
No, I haven't. I came from Nokia to iPhone.
Yeah.
That's a big jump. There we go. All right. Well, Anushka, thanks so much for joining us on the show. It's been fantastic, very enlightening, and I think it's helped broaden some perspectives for people that are looking at maybe some of the challenges that you're experiencing and how you've tackled them. So thank you so much for sharing some of those insights. We really appreciate it.
It's been great talking to you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Evans. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for having me. Really enjoy it. Yeah.
No
Thanks a
worries,
lot.
anytime.
Megan, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tech Panel. If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn to stay connected. A big thank you to our major sponsor, SmoothLink Integrations, for powering today's episode. And join us again on the next episode of the Tech Panel, where tech minds meet.